everyone. Welcome to this episode of Bloomberg Quint Supermoms. Today, we're going to be talking about mompreneurship and leadership in today's day and age. I'm speaking to three great panelists, all of whom are CX levels in their organizations and all of whom are moms. My name is Surabhi Talwar, and I will be your host for today. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a health food brand called Happy Jars, and I'm joined today by three exceptional women. The first is Ghazal Alag. She is the co-founder of Mama Earth, a baby and beauty personal care brand. Also, we have with us Vani Gupta. She is the founder of Cherry Peach Plum Growth, which is a marketing consultancy. We also have Vinita Singh. She's the CEO of Sugar Cosmetics. And if you haven't heard about all of these three companies, you should be typing away right now to figure them out. So excited to have you all here with me today. We're going to be talking about how mompreneurship has shaped up over the last year. The pandemic has thrown all of us many curveballs, whether it's been managing work from home or kids at home, and as well a changed office environment, if there is an office environment at all. We'll be talking about all of our experiences and perhaps giving a few pieces of advice from people who are successful and who've managed the last year, and hopefully leave all of you working moms and watching hopeful mompreneurs with some excitement, inspiration, and motivation. My first question to you, Ghazal, is how has the pandemic overall affected work life as well as mom life? And if you could all tell us, as you go along, how old your kids are and how many you have.
So, Surabhi, I have a son, Agastya, who's 6 years old. And, as unfortunate, I think, as the pandemic has been, it has actually, taught us a lot in terms of managing work as well as personal life, right? And to the question that you asked, I want to answer it in two parts. One is how did I deal with it being a leader, and how did I deal with it being a mother? Because literally doing both the jobs together was a lot. And both the things required equal amount of attention, equal amount of dedication and hard work to be dealt with and taken through the past year. As far as being a leader is concerned, right? Pandemic brought a lot of uncertainty with it, and it was something that none of us were prepared for. I think just the fact that how do you manage that uncertainty, and how do you talk to your team, how do you plan, how do you work things out, how do you think, more importantly, right, was something that I learned and I figured. Our warehouses got closed. Our factories were not non-operational. We did not have adequate stock because we usually don't believe in stocking up, but producing fresh. And the most important, people were looking up to us for guidance, to know what's going to happen, to know what's the way forward. So I think these were the few things that were very challenging. And I personally, spent the entire month of April when literally the revenues were down to zero in just figuring this piece out. And these are literally the three things that I understood were also, were also my key factors, I think, when it comes to dealing with the stress around at that point of time.
Right.
Just realizing that location as a physical space was not something that you need to be very particular about, and work from home is something which can actually be fruitful, which can actually be productive, was one of the main learnings. So I think, on the work front, these were the few things that I dealt with. When it comes to being a mother, I think there are two sides of to the coin, right? It was good and it was bad, right? It was good for reasons that I literally, after 5 years, got so much time that I spent with my son. Those occasional hugs and kisses during the day, when you feel like it, was something which was a stress buster, because mentally, I think we were going through a lot. That said, online schooling started, and suddenly that pressure came on to us as mothers, which I think till date, I'm trying to figure out how to, how to do that even better every single day was something which was a lot, I would say, time consuming more than stressful. A 6-year-old, for that matter, last year, 5-year-old did not know how to manage systems and computers and how to operate classes, and everything was online. So he literally needed me at all points of time. And while delegating responsibilities worked a little, but I think on mom front, emotionally and bonding with my son was something which was positive. But I also feel that there was a negative side to it, where there was no differentiation between work life and mom life for literally about 3 months till I figured it out how to do it better.
Right. Yeah, I think everyone went through this phase when, I mean, there was no way that anyone could have prepared us for what we've been through, and mompreneurs aside, I think the whole world was thrown into such a vague space and so scary because you don't know. We were at that time, I remember last year, I was thinking, yeah, 3 months. Okay, we can manage this for 3 months. And a year later, and unfortunately, we're in the same space, if not worse right now. So, and like you said, I think all the responsibilities coming on to the mums and perhaps not necessarily, I mean, we have, of course, our own support systems. Everyone, all of us have got different things going on. But Vani, I wanted to understand from you, because you've obviously had it double, triple tough, I think, being the only one, perhaps also the sole breadwinner and managing a child at home. What's been your village, so to speak, during this point in time?
So actually, for me, Ghazal still seems to have it pretty well sorted. For me, I felt that there was really no secret formula to managing it all. And during the lockdown, we didn't really have any physical support from people, right? Because we were all up at home and there was nobody you could meet. And, at that time, even part-time maids, etc., were all forbidden in societies. So for me, it's really just been reaching out to friends and family. After the lockdown opened, my only social life has been my parents. My parents live about 20 minutes away from where I stay. So all of my social life, every weekend we'd go and spend it with our parents. Because I think the lockdown, like Ghazal said, for me, the lockdown has really been just a realization of how dear our family is and how we take many, many, many things for granted. I mean, of course, because it's just me and my son at home, a lot of times, I'd also turn into this monster because there'd be this overriding pressure of, oh God, work not happening, or I'm not doing enough, or nothing's moving and I don't know what I should be doing. The house is looking like this and we don't know what meal are we going to be having next, and haven't we ordered enough from Zomato already? How much more can we do and all of that? But apart from that, again, like she was saying, I really enjoyed the bonding time with my son and with my parents, and I've gotten to know my son a little better, and we've been doing fun things together.
Lovely.
So no village as such. I think the village has just been about proactively reaching out to people. Right. And like I was telling you, I'm very expressive by nature. So right. I do reach out to a lot of my friends and family, and I do sort of offload everything that I have going on in my head, to friends, and that really helps.
Yeah, I think the physical aspect, in fact, when you said, food, I was just remembering the whole, how do you shop for groceries anymore? Like, I know the whole online thing, but I feel like I've starved my family just because I've forgotten to order half the time. Sitting at home, you're like, oh my God, where's the next meal going to come from? So yeah, I think I've eaten out more than I ever have before this past 1 year. But Vinita, how about you? How has it been, considering, first of all, you're a crazy runner, right? So being locked up and not being able to run must have taken its own toll. But between work life and mom life and me time, what's taken the biggest hit?
Sure. So I'm an extremely selfish parent, I must say. So the one thing that did not take a toll was actually my running and, working out, because like Ghazal mentioned, I think April, zero revenue, extremely stressful time. And the one thing that I, need to make time for if I go through like a really hard phase at work and at home is, make time for myself and do my workout. So I actually, during the lockdown, I actually, every single day for 120 days, the first 120 days, I did a workout. And there would be times when at 10 o'clock, I would finish calls and I would go up and down the stairs, because it was not that, anybody needed me to do it. It was just like, for me, that one thing which was happening as clockwork, and, it was like just me alone by myself, was really important for my mental well-being. And, I'm going to talk about like, how the entire managing the kids thing was. But of course, before that, like the disclaimer is that, I've been speaking to the women in my, my colleagues. And, it sometimes does feel that I've been actually more privileged than a lot of them, because I did manage to go and kidnap my help and get her to stay with me for those 2-3 months. Because I have 2 kids. One of them was 2 years old at that time. The other was 5 years old. And it would have been much harder if I had managed to do that. And secondly, I think, when I talk to women and, the statistics that I read, like in India, like, the husband is to wife workload is actually in domestic chores, like 1:6, right? So there are women putting in 6 hours more for domestic chores as compared to 1 hour that their husbands are putting. In my case, I've like really, on pen and paper negotiated with my better half, and he puts in a lot of work. So in fact, like Ghazal was talking, school's a, big task. He's been doing the schooling for my, now 6-year-old throughout the entire last year. So yeah, I do feel that, it was definitely easier for me than a lot of moms. But still, I mean, I'm the struggles like for a 2-year-old, you're going to soon experience that whole period of terrible twos. They're so attached to their mothers. They've never really had the concept of the parent, the mother being home and still not giving them time. So I have so many lockdown pictures of me, locked up in the room, doing a call, and my like 2-year-old sitting outside the door, literally giving a dharna. And, so the guilt of it, of, dealing with a crying toddler outside. And, so many times you rush thinking that, oh my God, it's a big emergency, but it could be something as, I mean, very big for them. Like my brother stolen my car, but, you're like, okay, I just ended my Zoom call for this. Like, can I go back to work now? Or, one of them is like sitting on a potty seat and saying, Mama is going to clean it and not the help. So, a lot of those really random situations were there. And for the 5-year-old, and I think that, Ghazal and Vani would relate with, they were so used to having this other life, right? Like school, daycare, they had like teachers, friends. So, they need activity. So for the my 5-year-old, it was a constant, what do I do? I'm bored. What do I do? I'm bored. I can't play anymore with this like toddler. So, just keeping them engaged and, just keeping them like busy with something was a task that you had to like keep thinking about. And, the help was doing the cooking and the dishes, which I'm very lucky I didn't have to do at that time. But I think, so it was definitely very hard. I don't think for women with young children, work from home is a luxury. I think it's really hard, and it's been hard for all our colleagues, because it's the guilt is just like completely goes out of control. Somehow you've taught them how to deal with mama going to office, but mama being home and not giving us attention, not giving us time, not taking our pain seriously, that's really heartbreaking.
So all have this mom guilt thing, because I've been trying to train myself out of it, but how real is it? And does it get easier?
It never gets easier. The only thing that gets easier is dealing with all the judgment. So I think, when I was, when my little ones used to be, and I used to go out for runs, I remember like, my co-runners who were like these 40s, 50s used to like be like, oh my God, you are letting your bacha have milk, frozen milk that's thawed, when you could have sacrificed this run and being home with him, right? Or, something like they would actually say things like, who's he with? And I'll be like, his dad, of course, his dad's like babysitting him. It's not like his dad doesn't know how to do. And then they would be like, oh, bichara sofa ki jagah wooden plank pe so raha hai, or some ridiculously sexist comment like that. Yeah. And so, I think the first step is to like be okay with all the judgment, because I think that's the first thing, because a lot of time we take time to, mentally manage our own stress and our own guilt, but then somebody out there comes and passes like a really harsh comment, and then we go back into that hole. I think it's like a constant, and which I think, when all the moms have to be there for each other. I try to be there for all the moms in office, and that's the only way out of it.
Ignore the comments that come from people outside. And Ghazal, for you, it must have been really different working with not only having work, being a mom, having a kid to deal with, but also working with your husband. How has that been? how easy or difficult has it been to literally be in each other's face all day long? I also work with my husband, by the way. So again, I'm taking on this.
Shruti, that was literally the only relief that I had, that at least I was seeing one familiar face that I end up seeing in office as well. So there was some level of, mental connection, that I'm talking about work to a person who's not a kid and understands. Because rest all of the communications went, online and on Zoom calls and on phone calls, and you literally were setting up time, setting up meetings to do that. So I think having him around was actually a blessing. That said, him having work calls plus me having work calls plus my kid having online school plus the
fight for devices
WhatsApp
and Wi-Fi.
God, it was too much. And I think the first 1.5 months we were just working every single day to figure, do we need more Wi-Fis? Do we need a better internet connection? Because things were just not working out, right? That said, I mean, of course, now we have almost 4 different connections of Wi-Fi at our place, just in case anything goes wrong, like now when things have gotten so bad, and we are forcefully now sitting at home and by choice wanting to work from home and promoting the fact that even the teams should work from home. I think there were a few things that really helped me, and it took me a certain while to get to them. But the first thing that I did was calendarizing, right? And when I say calendarizing, not just work, but even the personal pieces, right? Be it making my son ready for his online classes and being there with him, blocking that time as a DND, which is a do not disturb block for me, so that my colleagues, my team members know that this is something which is important for me and I don't wish to be disturbed. Blocking time with lunch hours, because that was again a gray area. There was no time set apart for meetings and for lunches, and which usually go in a flow, right? When you're in office, you're usually very scheduled. I even put things like spending time with my family in a calendar. I think that really worked, and my day was calendarized from 5:30 in the morning to 10:30 in the night, and that just gave certain sanity and certain flow to the entire day, which saved me from the pressure of taking decisions every morning. That what do I have to do now? What do I, what is it that's more important? And from there, I'll go to the second point that was really important, which worked for me, was prioritizing, right? We usually end up having a priority list for a month and a priority list for a week. And from that, I went on to prioritizing my daily tasks, because every day was not the same. There were different things that were coming up. There were different priorities. All said and done, it's a health pandemic, right? People around you are falling sick. While you couldn't do anything for them physically, but mentally it takes a lot of toll and stress. So just breezing through that. So that is something that I helped. I was very comfortable with canceling a few calls which were not important for me. Right, I was very comfortable pushing certain things forward, because for that day they did not fall in my priority list. So I think that is something which was very, very important. And apart from that, I thought being real and honest in communications, be it with the team, be it with the family members, was something that gave me my sanity back. I was open with my team members. See, I'm going through this. I understand that you'd be going through this as well. So it's okay. It's okay to come up and say, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay if you're not available on a certain day. We understand that. Because I think at that point of time, giving them the comfort and just ensuring that their mental health is also taken care of was critical for us. And even at home, asking for help. That I live in a joint family, and when you live in a joint family, there are again pros and cons, right? There's a big family that you need to take care of. There are a lot of things that you need to take care of. While everybody is at home, a lot of work increases at home as well, right? And I mean, women usually have a lot of guilt, like you just said at the start of the conversation, right?
Yeah, whether we are asked
Contributing.
to do it or not, we feel like we need to be in there doing everything.
Absolutely. So contributing when it comes to home tasks, because there are no helps and there are no maids, was critical. So I think those were the few points that I took into account, and I actively asked for help wherever I needed. And um, one thing which I'm really appreciative of is the fact that when I asked for help, I actually got it. And I realized that it was so simple. You just need to go out there and you need to say that, okay, you're struggling with XYZ. If something could be done to ease it down. And the way my mother-in-law stood up for me at that point of time, saying that, okay, once the school is over, I will take 100% of the child's responsibility, was something which was which has been my backbone till date. She does that till now, and I think it comes from her background of being a working mother for almost 40 years. She just understands and she just knows the struggles. She's gone through it. So I think
support
these things really help, and that's something that I would want to advise to everybody out there.
Right.
Calendarize, prioritize, and ask for help. It's okay. Everybody needs help, and asking is the best thing that you can do for your own self.
Yeah, and I think when you mentioned, in terms of, and I was thinking about our own house dynamics, I guess. So my little baby is about 1.5 years, and when we went into pandemic, she was 6 months old, and at that time we were living far away from my parents. And Vani, similar to you, I actually moved. We moved our entire household so that the three of us, my husband, me, and the baby, could be 5 minutes away from where my parents are right now. But I also wanted to ask, your business, Vani, is about relationships, right? And it's all about how do you get clients who trust you. And I know for us, we've been trying to scale the business this last year. So we've also had to go out and meet new people, or at least try to now meet new people. But how has that been for you in terms of managing clients, managing business? Has the last year been very different from the years before?
Absolutely. It's been very, very different. So, there's been a lot said about work from home, and there are a lot of companies that claim that work from home is just as good as it's been working from office. But the view is that while work from home does have its privileges, it does have, for the likes of us, the fact that we can spend more time with our kids. Even if we're putting it on the calendar, like Ghazal was saying, or even if we have to deal with the guilt of my child being on the potty seat and me not being able to attend to the child, like Vinita was saying. But the thing about working from home or doing work on technology also is that it doesn't allow you to forge relationships, new relationships that really matter. And like you said, absolutely, my business is about relationships. Consulting is a very, very personalized business. And unless you actually thoroughly understand your client's needs, interact with the client, on an everyday basis, and not just with the founders or the key stakeholders in the company, but also the extended team, you don't really appreciate exactly what the culture and dynamics within the company and the brand are about. So for me, quite surprisingly, currently, there are 3 clients I'm currently working with. And I've been working with them now for the last 7-8 months, and I haven't met them at all. We got in touch with each other over technology. We'd never met before. This was all through word of mouth, and we've been doing business only over technology. It's not fine, but I wish I had, this luxury of being able to go to their office, because in the pre-COVID era, I used to love going and working from clients' offices. That's really the only way that you can actually do and work and understand the team and understand the business as well as they do. And, quite honestly, one has no business to advise unless one understands the business as well, or almost as well as they do. So I think, yes, work from home is great. But I always say this, that when it comes to new relationships, I wish we could get together. Little things make a difference. Just sitting across the table, being able to have a cup of coffee or a little, touch on the shoulder. There are little little things. They say about communication, less than 50% of communication is actually what's said. You know, more than 50% of it is body language and the tone of what's been said.
Yeah.
And that now we're struggling with. And like we were saying, you know, Surbhi, it's not just body language, but over Zoom like this, you know, the four of us women today are sitting perfectly made up. Vinita also as compared to the rest of us. But a lot of times people don't switch on their cameras.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help relationship building, because then it's like a phone call, you know, and it's, I mean, how many times can you ask people to switch on their camera? Sometimes people are uncomfortable. Now, I myself am many times guilty of it, you know, so because many times when you're home and you're juggling between zillion things and you know, you're disheveled, you haven't got perfect makeup on, you're thinking, oh God, I'm growing a mush on my how can I switch on my camera? But it's necessary, you know, to build relationships. So it is, it all comes part of the deal.
Yeah, and I feel like this last maybe while, because there's so many Zoom meetings now for us as well, and I just feel like I'm forced to multitask because there is this Zoom meeting, you know. So when I used to sit in a meeting, it was like phone face down or in a bag and, you know, notepad and pen open. Nowadays, Zoom is like some voice is going on and I'm listening while at the same time getting done with my email. So I think we've also maybe perhaps allowed myself to get
thing, you know, like they're talking about online school and all of the other thing about a screen is you don't know if actually they're with you on the screen. You know, the second screen open where somebody is actually preoccupied with something else. So this element of trust becomes even more difficult to deal with, because you're constantly wondering, am I fully with this person? Or is this person fully 100% with me?
And Vinita, I wanted to check with you in terms of an overview point of view, right? Now, I know that women in India have it different from women abroad, but in your perspective, and I would love for you ladies to join in as well with your own perspectives, but do you feel that we have it easier or harder than women in other countries when we're working, whether it's working in our own startups, I think, which had 10 times load in any case, or just, you know, working in a corporate? Do you think we have it easier or harder?
I think the first time that all of us went into lockdown and we complained to our friends in the US saying that, you know, I have to do the dishes and the cooking, they're like, listen, this is my normal life, okay? so while, you know, prima facie, I think it does seem like it's harder because the whole concept of domestic help, I think, is like a massive savior for women who, you know, take it liberally. And I know a lot of moms who've like, you know, sort of like are, you know, total bindas about having like 3, 4, 5, 6 helps, like, because it helps them share the load, because at the end of the day, like, you know, that whole, like the mental load itself is enough, right? And then, you know, taking care that everything is coming on time, the food is on the table, a lot of tasks, men are still very hesitant to take over. So I think, you know, the fact that we have domestic help definitely makes it easier for us. But having said that, you know, in terms of like, as entrepreneurs, you know, I think internationally as well, they say that less than 5% of female founded companies are funded. I think the number in India is even lesser. So I think the whole view that women can be successful entrepreneurs, single women founders can be fundable, can run and create large companies. I think the biases are moving from west to east, where, I mean, you know, west, I think it's happening faster. It's still going to take a lot more time. The change that we're seeing is like a lot of people are now focused on events like these, which are focused on working women. VCs have these cohorts dedicated to teaching women entrepreneurs how to fundraise. And now there are funds that are dedicated more to women founders, but the money hasn't really come in. And the, you know, impact on the number of CXOs hasn't yet happened. So that, I think, will take another 10 years. And I think West will probably move ahead of us. But yeah, I mean, you know, gun to head, I would any day stay in India, just because of the fact that I think, you know, a life as a working mom is easier here than there. And, you know, I really like, you know, having like your kid at home with house help is one thing, but I've seen my friends put their 4-month-old in daycare. I think that feeling is like even more harder for a working mom to deal with. And many of them, that's why have to take career breaks, which I've seen even from our generation. Like Ghazal mentioned, her mother-in-law, my, you know, mother's been a working mom, my mother-in-law has been a working mom. I think, you know, traditionally we've had that luxury because of joint families and domestic helps, which I think makes it easier for us.
Right. I think in my case, and it's just been, if I didn't have the kind of support system that I'm living with, and if my parents weren't so selflessly, literally giving their everyday, entire day looking after this one, I think I would have had to quit because, and that's where the statistic starts to make sense to me because when my baby was about 6 months old, I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, how am I expected to manage this? Like, there is no rule book. And like you said, Ghazal, you're making your own calendarization of, when to do what. And I've now done that to the most ridiculous levels where I have some 4 hours of personal time, which I choose to sleep through every single day, but it's in my calendar. But I just feel like I don't think we know. I mean, there's no set rule book on how to actually be a working mom in India. But if it wasn't for all the people around us that could help us get to working every day, I don't think I would have done it. And I was so afraid that I would become that statistic that I would have to stop and not be able to continue working. That it was really, really freaky. But I have one question that I want to ask all of you guys, which is a bit controversial. So we'll see if you want to keep the answer to it for the show. How many of you have actually considered stopping work to be able to look after the kids?
Never.
So in my case, it was actually very interesting. When I started up, Agastya was only 1.5 years old.
Mm.
And there were a lot of folks around me who were checking, if it was the right time to start up. Kid needs a lot of your time. He needs attention. He's growing up. It's his formative years. If you start up, you'll be spending a lot of time there and questions like those, right? And I think at that point of time, that was my first encounter towards situations like this. And I said, I'll manage, I'll figure it out, right? We've figured out a lot of things in our lives, and this is something that I'll figure out on the way. And at that point of time, it was just me and my husband, Varun, with the kid, right? We were not in a joint family at that point of time. And trust me, I've literally had investor calls, work calls where I'm holding him in one hand and I'm on a call with investors and teammates and just trying to figure it out. And at that time, I mean, teammates to Thaini, it was all organizations that I wanted to work with. It was all people that I was approaching and telling them that I had this passion and I want to start this up and this is the idea. And I think if I can manage, so can everybody, because raising funds was also difficult. I don't come from an IIT, IIM kind of a background, right? So I am as regular, a graduate as it can be with who was an artist. I love to paint, right? So I was very comfortable with my passion. I did my education in arts from New York Academy of Arts. Came here. I was chosen as the top 10 artists in India. I was selling nationally and internationally, and I thought I had found my comfort zone and what I want to do for the rest of my life, right? The room right outside is actually my gallery, which, by the way, hasn't seen a new work in the last 6 months.
I think that's yes. Not bad at all.
Hey, it's fairly bad, yeah. What are you saying? Ask me. It's like asking Vinita not to run. I mean, 6 months. Yeah. She can imagine. She can imagine, right? So I'm saying if the passion behind what you're starting up or what you want to achieve is strong enough, and you really believe that this is something that needs to get done, you will figure ways out. Mm-hmm. Trust me, it wasn't easy. I have taken calls while having shower. I have taken calls while I was, making a roti and preparing for dinner for the family. I've done it all, but I did it, right? And again, sometimes you can get help, sometimes you can't get help because you're the only one at home. Just being open and honest that, okay, currently I'm in this situation. Can we schedule it for, say, 10 minutes later? Can we schedule it for half an hour later? And I was very honest that I have a 1.5, 2-year-old and I will do this. And there were people who did not understand, but then those people are not a part of our journey, right? And there were people who understood. A lot of them are a part of our journey. So I think that that is something that I just want to put out to everybody, that if I can do it, I think a lot of women can, and they should.
I feel
And
so encouraged because this is exactly what I'm feeling right now. Like there's a number of times I've called people and been like, I'm sorry, I know I told you I'll call you at this time, but can I please call you half an hour later because I have an emergency to deal with.
and Surbhi, that's okay, right? You don't need to feel guilty about it. I'm saying that's also part of work.
Yeah.
It's also as important as a work meeting. And the lesser the guilt we feel, the more productive we will be, and the more we'll try and bring things together.
There's the meme, right? That I'll call you back in 20 years. I just had a kid.
Yeah.
Half an hour is nothing in comparison. But I want to add to this, if I can, if I may.
Yes.
So, I also want to, talk about the other perspective on this, because I have a lot of my friends who are, probably like IIT, IIM, but they've chosen to be stay-at-home moms. And, I've heard them talk about it, and I have a lot of respect for somebody making that choice, because I think that, like when I did this whole, 2 months being back in office and, with a baby in the sling and all of that, I really used to think that, oh, I'm such a super mom and I'm like this superwoman. I had this mega superwoman complex that, I have to do it all and make it all happen. And, and then when I started speaking to my colleagues who were having children, I just realized that, a lot of them, like me being in my 9th month at work, is very different from the girl coming from Kalyan to Powai every day in a local train, being at work in her 9th month. And, that the sort of experiences that women have are so different. I think, the only empowering way for us to approach this is to say that every woman has the choice, and I choose to be a working mom and juggle these multiple hats because I need it. I don't think, if I joined work 4 months later, my company would have suffered. I really don't think, I'm, the self-importance that I give myself is as much as, is required for the company. I think, the show would have gone on, and I did all that for me. Because this is who I always thought I am. And this is what, empowers me and makes me feel like myself. And, a lot of these choices just let us choose, if we want to stay at home for 10 years and then decide after 10 years, because we want to raise our kids a certain way, and then we want to get back to work, that's our choice. And, if we want to do the whole, multiple things, then that's our choice. I think it's important to have judgment-free opportunities for women to choose.
I think that's a beautiful perspective. And Vani, you said never. I really want to understand that. I want to see where that strength comes from.
Yeah, so I absolutely resonate with what Vinita is saying. I actually wanted to expand on just that it's been by choice. It's not that actually for every working woman, the reality of working women is that we'd never be free of guilt, with children or without children. Even if you didn't have children, you'd still be thinking, oh, am I doing enough for the family? Is my house a well-kept house enough? Am I being a good daughter? If you're not married, then you'll be thinking, oh, am I doing, well enough as a daughter? Could I do more for my parents? So I think guilt is just something that's very intrinsic to we women. And this is something that when I joined Pepsi, I had a lot of senior women leaders who I used to look up to. And I remember in one of the interviews, Deepika Warrior, who was my boss at that time, she had said, she had 2 young kids, they were boys, and they were much older than my boy. And she had said in some conversation that, it gets easier as they grow up. And I remember hearing this at a time when I was feeling very, very frazzled at work. There was just so much that was going wrong at work. And I had to get out of office at 6 p.m. or I think it was 5:30 p.m. because the daycare would close.
Right.
And if I didn't land up at the gate at that time, then, my child would be standing outside with the guard. So I had to leave, and I'd always be like, oh God, how am I leaving office right now when there are a zillion things going on? I have to be here. I have to be doing this myself. And like Vinita said, it's absolutely our choice. Like my mother would many times remind me that, this is not done well enough, and this could be better, and this could be better, and oh, he hasn't got this, and all of that. And I'd always tell her, yeah, I can attend to that, but I can't be 100% at everything. Some things will fall, and we have to be comfortable with the idea that if I'm doing 50% at everything, then it's okay. You know, and you have to keep reminding yourself that it's okay to be a 50-60% at everything, so long as I'm attempting everything. And I want to tell you this little story. Again, while Vinita was saying her piece, I was reminded of this little story, you know, just after this was when I went on maternity leave from Unilever. I was with Unilever at that time. And I had this lot of angst inside me that I want to do something else. You know, I don't want to go back to the corporate world. Even if I do go back to the corporate world, I don't want to do FMCG because I'd had this long career in FMCG. So I said, so I was going and meeting all kinds of people. And I remember my son was, I think, about 6 months at that time. And I went to Bombay to meet somebody from Worldwide Media. And I made a couple of calls to friends in Bombay to say, look, I'm coming. I'm going to be meeting somebody at the Times of India building at Fort at about 9:30. And I need somebody to leave this child with. So, you know, would you be available and would you be available? And for some reason, I was not able to fix up anything with anything. Like at the last moment, there's this one friend of mine who said she'd turn up at Cafe Coffee Day under that building, and she didn't turn up either. So I walked into Cafe Coffee Day with my child in a pram, and there was nobody in the cafe. And I told the staff, look, you're all sitting over here. In any case, you have nobody to attend to. I'm just leaving my child here with you. I'm running upstairs, I'm meeting someone, and I'll be back in half an hour. Just watch this child.
No way.
Wow. That is the coolest story ever.
Really? That's awesome.
This woman was looking at me with this completely stoned expression. And I said, obviously, she hasn't registered what I said, but I just smiled at her and I said, okay, I'll be back. And I came back, Surabhi, and you're not going to believe this. There was no child, there was no pram, there was no, nobody. There was nobody at Cafe Coffee Day. It was absolutely khali.
Oh my God.
Standing there and thinking, oh God, am I living a horror movie? Like, is my child gone? What do I do? And I was so focused on that interview, I didn't think of taking this person's number or anything.
Oh my God.
Standing there thinking, now what do I do? You know, my child's gone. And thankfully, 2 minutes later, one of the staff members walks in, you know, with Bosky in his arms and said, you know, we'd just gone to McDonald's because he started crying. So we thought we'll go and get some balloons for him.
Oh my God. That is the bravest thing I think I have ever heard. That is literally the bravest story I've ever heard.
Twice about, oh God, will my child be kidnapped or be back? Just
that is most inspirational.
But it was just because, like Vinita said, all of us women who are working, however guilty we might feel, the truth is we actually love doing what we're doing. Absolutely. And we don't want this snatched away from us, you know, because then we'll hold our families responsible for what we deprived ourselves of. Yeah. So there is no other way, and we're doing it because we love doing it.
That's absolutely amazing.
I mean, from what both of you said, and from what I also strongly believe, I think there are two things to this. One is that whenever you think of giving up, or for that matter, even feeling guilty about anything, just think about why you started and what was it that made you take the plunge, and is what you're thinking right now, be it a guilt or be it giving up, worth it, right? That one question literally saves me a lot of times, because I just get my answer, right? That giving up is not an option, probably. And second is, whatever decision you take, you need to be at peace with your own self after taking the decision, right? That's most important. Your mental stability and mental peace and satisfaction that I chose this for myself and I'm okay with it, is far more important than trying to do everything if you don't feel like, if you don't want to, because then that's an added pressure and that can't go on for long. I mean, some food for thought for sure. And I've loved the stories. I mean, Vani, incredible.
Bollywood made me to think so much crap that could have gone wrong. Yeah. That's why I say, really, really brave, because I don't think I would have had the story to do that. Sorry?
I said nobody at home knows the story.
Yeah, wow. You did shocked. Wow. every parent and every senior around you. So,
Bloomberg Quint, don't edit this one out.
Yeah, edit. Vineeta, I wanted to check with you. Give us one solid piece of advice that you would give to someone who's either looking to start up, has already started up, or is just a working mom who's finding it a little bit of a struggle. What would you advise?
I would just say, as I always do, be selfish, make time for yourself, and ask for, start, if not 50%, at least ask for like 30-40% participation from your better half, because many times they don't even know, many times you're depriving them of the opportunity to contribute by being a perfectionist and saying this has to be done in a certain way and I'm better at it, or, feeling that this is my job. And, that's probably a question of the upbringing. So ask for it. I think most times I've seen that when you ask for it, you get help.
Mm-hmm. You've spoken literally as if you were reading my mind. I think that's exactly what I feel. Chasing perfection is something that's, it's not for our generation. I feel like, that was an expectation of a different time. And now with the way that we are managing and choosing to manage, like we all said, families and work and little kids, I think it's really commendable. And I want to thank all of you for being here. And just to summarize it for everyone, I think at the end of the day, ladies, it's a choice that we make. It's a choice that we make every day, actually, to stay committed to what you want for your own ambitions and what you want for your family as well. And you may not be able to have it all, but it really depends on how you define your all. It could be running every single day. It could be being there for your kids' online class for that hour, or it could be just making sure that you never ever give up on that dream. And thank you, ladies, so much. You are all powerhouses. I've taken copious notes now, and I know exactly how to manage my 1.5-year-old. I'm very excited for what's to come. It's really, really inspiring to have spoken to you all. And thank you so much for today.
Thank you.
Talking to all of you.
Thank you.